Are you tired of consulting that lives in binders and never makes it to the job site? At Remodelers Advantage, we do it differently. Our immersive consulting works inside your real projects, your team, your clients, your challenges. We bring design, production, estimating, and operations together to build systems that actually work in the field. No ivory tower theory, just proven tools, collaborative problem solving, and measurable results you can see in weeks, not years. If you're ready to stop firefighting and start building a stronger company, let's talk. Visit www.remodelersadvantage.com or remad.co/Greg for more information.
Welcome to the Why We Build podcast. Join Greg Woleck to explore the world of remodeling, whether you're on the production team, design team, or managing the whole show. You can expect insights, tips, and stories that inspire and educate. So, let's dive into the Why We Build podcast.
Welcome to the Why We Build podcast. I am Greg Woleck, your host. If you have any guest suggestions or topic suggestions, please reach out to me, greg@remodelersadvantage.com. Now, today's conversation sits at the intersection of people, performance, and possibility. Sales and residential remodeling is a tough role. Sales is a tough role. It requires confidence, clarity, emotional intelligence, and resilience. And for women, it often comes with an extra layer of complexity in a space that has been historically male-dominated. This episode isn't about obstacles for the sake of talking about obstacles. It's about capability. It's about development, and it's about what happens when women are given the tools, support, and confidence to succeed in sales and leadership roles within remodeling companies. I am joined today by two guests who bring deep experience from both inside and outside our industry. Between them, they've spent decades helping people sell with integrity, lead with confidence, and grow into roles that may not have originally imagined for themselves. We're going to talk about skills, mindset, systems, and what real professional development looks like when it actually works. Again, we have two stellar guests today. First, Tracy Bullock brings more than 30 years of U.S. and global business experience, including a long career with Procter & Gamble, where she worked across leadership, strategy, and organizational development. She later transitioned into entrepreneurship, running her own Sandler training business for 13 years, where she customized programs focused on professional development in sales, leadership, and management. Today, Tracy is the CEO of Board Developer, leading strategy, long-range planning, and mentoring teams and leaders. She also serves as chairman of the board for LIFE, a nonprofit focused on supporting mental health for frontline workers. In addition, she coaches the Arizona State University sales competitive team. I had no idea there was such a thing.
Who knew?
She serves
right?
on the Sales Advisory Council. Lissa Versteegh has more than 40 years of experience in sales leadership, and sales training. Lissa has built a career dedicated to helping people excel. She is a former franchise owner of 15 years of Sandler sales training. And most recently, she served as Senior Vice President of Sales Strategy and Development for Randstad North America. Now semi-retired, Lissa devotes her time to her true passions, cultivating growth in both people and plants. Her depth of experience, perspective, and grounded wisdom make her a powerful voice in conversations about sales, leadership, and confidence. Welcome to the show.
Thank you
for having us.
Mm-hmm.
How are you both doing today?
Awesome.
Yeah, I'm in Arizona, so it's a lot warmer for me than it is for either of you. So I'll take it.
Lissa, what's the weather like in your world today?
It's actually gorgeous today. I think we're going to hit 70, and I spent the morning at the botanical garden, so I'm in my happy place.
All right. That's Atlanta area. So cool. Arizona. I'm in Connecticut. It is cold. It is cold here. That's things are not melting. So why don't you kind of jump right in? I can ask you individual questions, or if you have something to say, please don't hesitate to speak up. But when you look at sales and remodeling specifically, what makes it uniquely challenging compared to other industries?
Oh, I have a thought on that.
Go ahead, I'll add to it. Yeah.
So, when you walk into someone's home, there is no more private, personal place. And we know, and Sandler teaches us, you can't be a good consultant if you don't gain someone's trust first. But when you walk into someone's home, establishing that level of trust as quickly as humanly possible, I think is makes it very, very challenging.
Yeah, I'd add to that and say Lissa hit the nail on the head. The other challenge is to get people to describe what's in their head and have it come out their mouth so that their vision of what good and bad look like comes alive. And for remodelers in particular, the better somebody is at getting you to describe that and to say, how committed are you to really want to change it? I think goes right back to the trust factor.
We know it's hard, man or woman, right? This is hard. Sales is a hard thing, but why do you think women are so well suited for this role, even when our industry doesn't always make it easy?
I think women, by nature, are taught to nurture first, right? And I think have that. Not everybody. I don't want to paint a brush that says everybody, but generally lead from the empathetic standpoint, and sometimes have that tendency to be able to soften the, oh, let's talk about it. Why does that really happen? Versus just tell me what you want done, right? Two different approaches. And I think women are uniquely set to be able to drill down faster without the abrasiveness.
Yeah, Tracy used the word that first came to my mind, which is empathy. There actually is physiological evidence that women are wired to be more empathetic and to be able to have even tough conversations, but with that level of empathy. I think it makes the people who are looking to do remodeling more open and able, going back to what Tracy said, able to more accurately share with whomever they're speaking with a real picture of what their heart's desire is, which is what they're trying to get to.
Lissa, I'll ask you this first. What challenges do women in remodeling sales, really any sales role, what do they face that aren't always acknowledged?
Gosh, I never ever want to paint women as we're disadvantaged, but there are certainly some preconceived notions out in the business world and otherwise where women are the weaker sex. Not true, but it can be perceived that way. And so if tough questions are asked or if we challenge someone in a sales capacity, sometimes that can be perceived very differently than if a man did the same thing. So I think it's a little bit challenging sometimes for women to plant their feet without having negative perceptions attached to that.
And I think too, we're taught that, right? We're taught to be more polite. We're taught to not rock the boat. We're taught to welcome everybody in without offending. And I think learning the right language that not only doesn't put people off, but makes us feel comfortable delivering it, and then getting out of our own way and our own head is part of the battle.
So, and again, I don't think there's such thing as a weaker sex. I think that, it's an industry that unfortunately has been, male dominated for so long. How does competence play a role? And this could be for anybody. This doesn't have to be a woman necessarily, but Tracy, where does competence break down, or how do we, establish confidence in a sales setting? And I hate sales, by the way. This is not my forte. I've taken the Sandler sales class and I stink at it, but it's probably a confidence thing.
Well, probably it's your own head trash, right? So Sandler has this what we call the BAT, the success triangle: behavior, attitude, and technique. And so much of sales training is focused on the techniques of how you approach people and differentiate yourself and how you word things and what you practice. But the real tough piece is the connector between behavior and attitude. Because you aren't always going to feel great walking in a room, Greg. I mean, when's the last time you had to go networking? You go, I don't know anybody, and I have to walk in and talk to strangers. And your parents always said, don't talk to strangers, right? But the behavior piece is, hey, all you have to do is be brave. How long does it take to be brave, right? 2 seconds, walk in the door, say your first thing, right? And the connector between having the right behaviors, the things we can control, and the right attitude, you, your company, and the marketplace, and only one of those do we typically control, which is ourselves. But the connector is the commitment to try. And the more we try, the better we get, just like anything else.
Lissa, does this have to do with like the idea? I know in the Sandler books, David Sandler talks about being a 10. Is that what we're talking about here?
That is exactly what Tracy's talking about. And the 10 is in our identity, our belief in ourself. But you can only perform in any role, be that sales or anything else in your life, 2 above or 2 below where you see yourself. So it is that it's learning how to get rid of or deal with or reprogram self-doubt and self-talk. It is that, Greg. I also think this goes back to Tracy's point about technique. I've had so many clients over the years say to me, I feel so much more confidence now that I know where I'm going and how to get there. And it's amazing. Sandler is founded in psychology, so it already works the way our brains work, and it just gives us structure. It's like that safety net that says, I'm not going to let you fall, and you know where you're going next. And for a lot of people, just having that structure gives them that sense of confidence that they didn't have before. So I did think a lot of it is up here and right here. And then you add that third piece of it where you go, I've got structure around me. I'm okay.
I have a daughter. She is in law school and she is a remarkable young woman, but she struggled sometimes advocating for herself in certain situations. How do we coach that skill? And again, this is probably universal, doesn't matter, male or female, but how do we coach folks to be advocates for themselves?
First of all, you have to give them permission to take to have the hard conversations. And you have to do that at home. So that was always one of my biggest talk tracks with my kids was advocating for yourself. So how would we have that conversation? What kind of things do you want to do? What kind of things don't you want to do? Talking about what your biggest fear is, which is also a big Sandler thing, right? The psychology of what would happen if, and then what, right? But I think it all comes down to personal presence, Greg. If you show up the way you want to be perceived, you've already won half the battle. And then the first words out of your mouth, I think, set the tone for the conversation, as long as you're prepared for what might come back at you.
I think interesting, agree so much with what Tracy said. In addition to that, over the years, as a woman in sales and in business, one of the things that has helped me personally, and a lot of clients that I've worked with as well, is how I think about myself. If I'm very, very focused on myself, I'm going to get wrapped around the axle, potentially. But if I think about myself as a consultant and my job is to go out and help this other person, it's a crazy thing. We're often more brave for other people than we are for ourselves. So if we can get our heads in that consultant place, it allows you, because you're doing the right thing for the other person, you're helping them. It allows us to be a lot braver, I think.
Well, and I think you're talking about having great mentors and people who will sponsor you or carry the water for you to help you. But I think, Greg, for your daughter, finding somebody she wants to be when she grows up for a particular trait and asking for help with that trait. So you have to pinpoint it. And then saying, I'm going to go in and talk to this person. Can you either come with me or role play it with me and tell me how I did, so that I'm getting feedback on both my approach as well as my tone and maybe my word choices or how the whole conversation went.
It's great that you said mentor, because as I've seen her develop, she has reached out to folks in the law profession. One of my friends, my best friend, his wife is a lawyer, and they meet every Thursday and do that kind of stuff. So mentorship is really, it's why I'm where I'm at in my life, is because people took an interest in me and certainly cared about me. That's a great way to see it. So talking about that, what responsibility do our companies have in training and supporting our salespeople?
Lissa, you want to take this? And then I'll add to it, because I have probably a very, not different, but a unique viewpoint on that.
So it's interesting to me. I've worked at companies where we were heavily invested in developing our people, and I've worked at companies where that was scarcely available at all. It's if companies are working in their best interest, they're going to invest in developing their people. I have seen a lot of cultures, though, where the people use it as a crutch. Well, they didn't invest in me. And it's the high performers that go out and they will find their own resources. They'll find ways to learn. Gosh, there's so much available today on the internet. And so are companies obligated? Maybe, maybe not. Would it be smart of them to do it? Absolutely. Your high performers are going to find their way to those resources regardless.
And what Lissa's described, I would call it a 3-tier approach, right? You have your high performers, and those people will succeed and guide their way, and they will, by God, learn the skill and identify what it is they need to do in order to get there. Then you have the people who are at the bottom, who are right below the radar. They just want to stay there, collect their paycheck, call them vacationers, right? But it's that movable middle, right? The call it the 70% of people, 75% of people who if you invest just a little bit in them, it's amazing what you get. But the reason I tell you I have a very unique view of training is I believe we as individuals own our own training program. We need to ask for what we need. And if you want to do something, so you said, Greg, that you were where you are because you had a great mentor, but you probably discussed where you wanted to be or what you wanted to achieve, and you could verbalize it and ask for help in that area. So you were seeking out advice. You were owning that piece of it. Sitting back and expecting the company to invest or give you something isn't going to improve your personal skills, nor will it improve your personal presence.
I guess what I often say to myself is, no one's going to do it for me. So I got to get out in front of it and try and handle that sort of thing. It also, one time I remember was in a conversation, we're talking about, there's such a labor shortage in terms of the trades. And we've talked to a lot of owners about how they train people. And one perspective I heard was, well, what if I invest in all this training and then they leave? And then the response to that is, what if you don't invest and they stay?
Right.
So it could be, the complete opposite of what you're trying to do, and probably drag down your company along the way. But tell me about, you guys are going to provide a class at Remodeler's Advantage. We're going to include a link. Tell me what folks can expect in that class.
Tracy and I are so excited to get to do this together because we've worked together for so many years. So we will be taking 2 classes a week at a time. Then we'll swap off, and we're working through the essential foundational structure of the Sandler selling system. The beauty of doing it in groups of women in particular is it makes it a little bit more comfortable space, at least that's our intent, for them to ask questions, because neither one of us wants to sit there and just lecture for an hour. That would be productive for no one. So it will be interactive, and it'll allow our participants, in a safe place to be able to take the concepts and then make practical application to their real world lives.
You think of it as delivering the content that really Sandler, the psychology of what we do, and the delivery of building relationships, qualifying by trying to disqualify, and then closing and asking for those referrals with right mindset. Think about delivering that in two different voices, both women who have had to learn it just like everybody else on the call. Because obviously, I mean, did you take Sandler before you had a franchise?
I did. My company, we went out and chose Sandler, interviewed a whole bunch of companies and chose Sandler.
So at P&G, because I worked global stuff, it was all enterprise, right? So in Sandler, until probably the last 10 years, really wasn't focused a lot on that business. So I didn't even know it. But the differentiation of please tell me no if it's not a fit and understanding the emotional connection between doing something and not doing something I was like, where has this been all my life? And so I didn't know anything about Sandler until I started exploring it.
It's been, I say it's not my, sales isn't my favorite thing, but I do, I have to do it. It's part of my job. And I have been through at least the foundational class with Jeff and Tracy. I believe that you taught one of those sessions as well. I've read the books, and companies I've worked for in the past have also embraced Sandler. So it's been a part of at least any remodeling and construction I've been a part of. People have certainly embraced it, and you get a lot of success from it. How would you measure success for a participant in this class? Tracy, you can go first.
I think there's going to be probably three measures of success. First of all, we should always start with, what do you hope to get out of this session? What does success look like for you? Because for some, it will be just being able to talk with people who do what I do and understand how they approach things differently in their companies might be success for them, right? So being able to deliver on what success looks like for them. Secondly, grounding them in the principles of what makes Sandler different and how could you approach internally and externally the clients and the people you work with. And I think third is understanding what behaviors you need to do to get the results that are expected of you. Because if you only focus on the KPIs or the results, those have already happened, right? You have to focus on the things we can control daily. So I think those three things for me. I mean, Lissa, what else? What am I missing?
I love all three of those. The only one I would add to that is we know people only grow outside of their comfort zone. Mm-hmm. And so I would hope and I would think success, all of these people who are willing to put themselves out there, they're getting out of their comfort zones. They've shown a willingness to do that. So getting comfortable being a little bit uncomfortable, I think, is also a great measure of success.
I have a friend who's a trainer, and she often says, growth and comfort cannot coexist. Like, you have to have a little discomfort in order to, really grow. And I agree. I think that's a true statement for sure. So I am going to jump to maybe a little fun section, if you will. I'll call your name and I'll ask you this question, and you'll both have a chance to answer, but maybe we'll go back and forth. So Lissa, what is the best piece of career advice you've ever received, even if you ignored it at the time?
Oh, this is an easy one. Pick your spot and stand on it.
I like that. Tracy?
For me, it was what looks like good today, what you want to do today, what you ask for today isn't always what you need for tomorrow. So Don't be afraid to adjust and change and ask for something different if your path changes.
A little bit like careful what you wish for, kind of.
More like your life changes. I mean, you have family, you have kids, you do whatever. And, climbing the ladder when I was, 22, 24 looked very different than when I was 34 with two kids and a husband who traveled, like a banshee. So, yeah.
All right. Well, on that note, Tracy, if you could go back and talk to your 22, 24-year-old self, what would you say in one sentence?
Check your ego and don't take yourself so seriously.
All right. Lissa?
That's a harder one for me. Maybe something along similar to what Tracy was talking about on the first question is sometimes 85% is enough.
That's good.
Perfection, just, and women in particular are terrible about that. So, imposter syndrome is real, and we're always trying to get to that 100%. Sometimes 85% is good enough.
Mm.
That is really good advice. I had a class I taught today, and I talk about that. Like, we don't need to be, it's Pareto, right? 20, 80, 20% of your system is going to give you 80% of your results. That's a really great point. Lissa, what's one skill outside of sales that has made you better at selling?
Learning how to make things grow.
Okay.
That sounds strange, but I'm very passionate about plants and I can make almost anything grow. But I went through a session years and years ago when I was young, and they helped us write our tagline for life, not just business, but life. And I realized through that exercise that I'm really very passionate about growth. People, plants, it's all good.
Mm.
Tracy.
That's so true for you too. For me, repeat the question, Greg.
So what's one skill outside of sales that has made you better at selling?
And maybe this is part of sales, but for me, it's been part of my life, and that's learning how to adjust and connect to others.
So who is someone, Tracy, who is someone past or present you'd love to sit down with for a long lunch?
My first mentor. He had ended up married right out of college, had a kid before the first year was up, and ended up having 3 girls. And so his view of women in business was totally different. He guided me through many of my multiple career changes within P&G. But he has since retired, started another company of consultants, battled cancer and barely made it, and is now living proof that the positive energy and the approach to what you want to focus on and take seriously has guided his life. And so it would be fascinating to talk to him about the 22-year-old me and the not 22-year-old me today.
Very cool. Lissa.
Mm-hmm.
This one will be not famous person, my grandmother. I have always said my grandmother, I aspire to be half the person she was. Kind, smart, open-minded, even in her 80s. She was one of the most open-minded people I ever knew, but she was tough as nails. I had a coach when I was in Sandler, and he used to call me the steel fist and the velvet glove. And I used to always tell him I learned all of that I know from my grandmother.
Oh, that's sweet. I loved hearing that.
I was going to say, I still use my mom and I lived with my grandparents for many years, and I still use idioms that my grandma said. Darling, don't you wish we were all perfect? Just different things. That same thing. Just you're right. Excuse me, Greg. I just
no, not at all. Listen, my grandparents I loved them all. I was so lucky to be able to spend a lot of time with them. So that was a great addition there. All right, last question. Both of you, Tracy, you go first. Favorite book, nonfiction?
Ooh, nonfiction. It would probably be, and I'm going to get the wrong title, but it seats. Make sure you get on the right bus and have the right butts in the right seats. I just went blank. Jim Collins. It's Jim Collins. Mm-hmm.
All right. Good to Great, I believe.
Good to Great. Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
My favorite book. I can't even remember the name.
Well, they all take from each other because I think Covey had something in there too. So we got to figure out.
Good to great. It's absolutely good to great.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
Lissa.
So good to great would definitely be top 5 for me. I actually have some of my most favorite books that always stay on my desk. Mm-hmm. And one that's not long, but wow, so impactful is Crucial Conversations. It marries so beautifully with all of the Sandler concepts. And I think in particular for the audience that we're speaking to with this series, helping women understand how to have those crucial conversations and be confident in doing that is so powerful.
Both books I've enjoyed thoroughly, and good stuff there. All right, we're getting ready to wrap this up. So, Lissa, one last nugget.
Sometimes being a woman in sales can be your superpower because it makes us stealth.
Tracy.
Come to class with an open mind.
Okay.
And just because it's not done this way or you've never done it before, it doesn't feel good, or I don't know if it'll work. The worst that can happen is you try, you fail, you learn why it didn't work, and you learn how to adjust to try again. So I think come with an open mind and a willingness to put yourself out there in anything, not just the class, right? But in life.
Where can folks find you guys?
I think sellingwithjeff.com is probably the easiest place.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. And LinkedIn, I would think, for both of us. Yeah.
LinkedIn, sure. we'll put links in the show notes, and then remodelersadvantage.com. If you go to the store, you can find this class, which I know we're really excited that you are all a part of our world of master classes. We have quite a few things, and this one is unique, and I think it's going to be great. Thank you both for joining me today. I really appreciate your time, and I love what you all are doing for the industry and how you're giving back. You've had careers. And I think this is where I'm at. I don't have to swing a hammer anymore, which is great. But I love what you both are doing, and it's been a really, really fun conversation for me.
Thank you for having us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Thanks, Greg.
Thank you. Now, one of the themes that really stood out to me today is that success in sales isn't necessarily about personality. It's about preparation, support, belief, mentorship, right? That's a big thing. And we've talked about that before on the show as well. Now, women in remodeling sales, it doesn't need to be fixed. It's a development thing. There's paths where we can be intentional, practical, and of course, human. When companies invest in that kind of growth, I think everyone wins, the salesperson, the client, and the business. But we also owe it to ourselves to be involved in our own training and set our own path. Now, if you are a woman working in sales or anyone in sales, I hope today's conversation gave you clarity and confidence about what's possible. And if you're a leader listening, I hope it challenged you to think differently about how you develop the people who represent your company every day. Now, we'll include the links in the show notes for anyone interested in learning more about Sandler's Women in Construction programs offered through Remodeler's Advantage. So thank you for spending time with us today on the Why We Build podcast. If this episode resonated, please share it with someone on your team, and we'll see you next time.
That's it for this episode of the Why We Build podcast. We hope you found something valuable to take back to your team. If you enjoyed the show, be sure to subscribe and leave a review. Please send in your ideas for future episodes. Thanks for listening, and we'll catch you on the next one. If you want more information about our Roundtables program, production manager groups, design manager groups, consulting services, or any of the Remodeler's Advantage offerings, please visit remodelersadvantage.com or email greg@remodelersadvantage.com.